Okay, so hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of our Friday night live sessions. And we are all very curious tonight because Carlo promised us a little something last week, and we are very interested to see what that is and how it works. So, Carlo, over to you.
All right, thanks, Leona. I think I just need to make one small change here by me quickly. All right, thank you. Welcome, everybody. So, last week we covered the alignment of the mirrors in the laser machine, and we only did the first two that we could do on the jig that I showed you guys. The third one that we have to do in the machine, and that I'm going to show you today, we would have liked for you to, those who were not here last week, at least looked at that video, but I think it's going to go live today. And yeah, those who haven't seen it or who were not in the meeting or in the session last week, can have a look at that video, and a lot of what we're going to do now will make a lot more sense if you see that. So without further ado, let's carry on, and let me just change my scene a bit there. Last week, what we did was we covered our adjustment of the first mirror, which is on the inside of the machine. We did the second mirror, and now we're doing the third mirror. I do see this mirror being neglected, if I can call it that. I don't think it gets the attention and the time that it deserves. And to be honest, I kind of cringe when I see somebody adjusting it and they go through all the hard work of doing everything. And when they get here, they put a piece of masking tape there and adjust these knobs until the little colicky is in the center, and then off they go. And it is such a shame because you need to do the adjustment on this one just as much as all the others. So before we get started on that, there's a couple of things that we need to do and need to make, a couple of tools that we need to adjust this. So the first tool that we're going to use, or one of the tools that we use, is these little targets. The size that you cut them out is pretty much the size of your lens. What they are used for is to see that the laser exit this little tube in the middle so that we can get to the center when we hit the lens in the middle. So this little target will pretty much be the size of your lens. Excuse me, just put the bed down a little bit. You'll see I removed the lens on my machine, and we'll get to that in a second. This little target has to fit in the space where your lens goes in. It must fit snug. It shouldn't move. The more snug it is, the more accurate it's going to be. But it also preferably just needs to be able to fall out. So, in actual fact, I don't need that in the machine right now. The second tool that you would want to make are a couple of these blanks. I think we've got 8 of them, 4 and 4. Almost feel like I want to say pick a card. And last but not least, that is what we're also going to use. So this file we will make available. It will be on our website, and we will most probably put the download link on the video as soon as that's available so that you can download it and make one of these for yourself. All right, so we'll get back to that a little bit later. And let's carry on with these. So you'll remember the last week when we spoke about these settings on the head work exactly the same as the mirror settings on mirror 1 and mirror 2. On some of the machines, they are placed a little bit different. Configuration is not the same as the others, but the concept stays the same. If you turn this one in or out, it pivots on these two. And so with all the others, when you adjust that, it pivots on these two. When you adjust that one, it pivots on that. So that gives you an idea of which way the mirror goes, so that when you turn it in, the mirror goes down, it pushes the beam that way. All right, so I'm just going to go back to that view. So the first thing that we want to do on this adjustment, and again, I am assuming that before you start with this, that you have done mirror 1 and mirror 2 as we discussed in the previous session. And if you've done that and you've got that as accurate as you can do this anywhere in any position on the bed of the machine. It's not really going to make a difference. So the last check that we did was we got the laser beam parallel, and we got it as close as possible to the center of that hole that's in there, although we don't know or can't say for sure that that center of the hole is, if the laser beam goes through there, that it's going to hit the mirror in the center. But that's how far we can go. So the next step that we're going to do is to make sure that the laser beam goes down 100% straight. That being said, that we don't hit the lens at an angle. We want to hit the lens at a 90-degree angle. It's got to be perpendicular. That way you're going to get the most potential out of your laser beam at the focal point. So to ensure that that beam is 90 degrees through there, we've got to use the bed. So unfortunately, this only applies to machines that have a movable bed that can go up and down. So if your machine does not have a movable bed that can go up and down, we are working on a device which you can put in that will give you the same effect. We don't have that available at the moment, but it's a useful tool, and it's something that I would recommend you have, because without that, you don't really know where your laser is firing and what the angle is of the beam and where it's going. So to do that adjustment, fairly simple. Just going to move the bed up a little bit. So we're doing the same with the bed as we did with the mirrors. So you take a shot at the closest to the mirror, you do a test sample, you take it as far away as you can, and you do another shot, and you see that you get those two on top of each other. The position where the bed is now, if I do a test shot, you can see I've got it there, and I'm just going to hold this down. I'm going to go down, and just for the sake of time for the video, I'm not going to move it all the way down, but the further you move it down, the more accurate you can get the setting. So I'm just going to take it down to there, and you do another pulse, and you want that pulse to be as close on top of the previous one as you can. So I've already done that setting. Also, again, for the purpose of time, it's a fairly simple setting to do. So on this mirror, I did the same thing as the others. I moved them to the max out. I measured that. I halved that. I went to the middle, and I did my adjustment from there. If you want, you can look at the video of the previous session where we explain exactly how we do that. Again, that is quite important because it gives you the option to move forward and backwards, in and out. So getting those on top of each other, if I can explain with this, if you're getting it there, if you want to move it in, that graph that Gerard showed us, which he posted on the group, it is a matter of lifting the mirror at the back and it moves in, or dropping it at the front and it'll move in. And the same applies sideways. So I would refer you to that document that Gerard shared with us on quite a few occasions. That is very valuable. And the more you familiarize yourself with that, the easier it becomes, and it becomes second nature. And you know, so the next step that we got to do once we are perpendicular, and again, doesn't matter where we do it on the bed. Once we are perpendicular, we need to get the lens in the center of this tube, which is in the center of this, which is where the lens is once it's installed. So to do that, I'm going to put this back in. And I'm going to get one of these little targets. So just to show you quickly, what I've added to these targets is a little arrow over there. So we put this target right there at the bottom of it, and we lift the bed up. And be careful with this so that you don't jam that in. On my machine, I can loosen that. I can drop that, and it falls exactly over the little target, which we made exactly to size. So that target is, as it lies there, it's in the middle of that little tube. Again, remember, the lens is not in, the lens is removed. I always remove the lens when I do my alignment, even when I do the alignment for mirror 2. When I put masking tape here, I remove the lens. If you don't remove the lens and some of the masking tape burns and it falls in and it falls on the lens, it will damage the lens. And especially if you then start cutting and the laser starts burning the masking tape with the sticky residue on it, if you can save it, it's not fun to clean, but it might cost you a lens. So I take the lens out, and also for this purpose, you need to have the lens out. Over there, if we pulse it, I can give it a few pulses. I can hear that it's hitting that. There's no way that you can see that it's hitting. So if I lift that up, I can see where my laser is hitting it, and it's hitting it smack bang in the center. That is the holy grail of where you want to be on it. The reason why I do that little mark is, and I can show you on one of the others, before I started the settings, I was a bit off center. And by remembering taking that out, I remembered that burn mark was behind that. But if you take it out, something draws your attention away and you start turning it. Now you don't know which way you were, where you're supposed to go, where do you start, which way, and you go back to square one and you put another one in and you got to do it again. So if you use one like this and you can put it on the design, that your laser cut that for you, you don't need to draw it by hand. And you always have a reference so that when that little dot is far behind, finger, or on the left or on the right, far side or the near side, you know exactly where it is and what the adjustments are that you need to make to get that spot on. Now to make those adjustments, and I'm going to refer back to this one, which was not spot on and needed some adjusting. And we can actually use this one for all the orientations. So let's say, for argument's sake, this is how it came out. And the beam was at the back. So if the beam was behind the center of the target, that means it's going past the tube and then it's coming down. So somehow we need to get it to come closer. So in this instance, if we get the beam, because this mirror is at an angle, if we get the beam higher, it'll hit the mirror earlier. If this was the other way around and the beam was in the front, that means it hits this mirror too early and it's coming down in the front of that head. But that means we need to lower the beam. The other option that we also have, if it's a tiny amount like this, and which I did use to rectify that setting. If you have this setting in the middle, like we have, take it out to a maximum, bring it halfway in, you've got movement forward and backwards. So if I remember correctly, in this instance, the mirror was too far back, and all I needed to do was equally adjust all these knobs, and the mirror came forward as it goes down, although it goes down at an angle. As it comes forward, the laser hits it a little bit earlier, so the laser comes down a little bit earlier and moves towards the center. So you can use that adjustment if you start with that in the center. The other adjustment, my machine does not have that, but some machines do have it and come with it, is the mounting of the head on some of them are slotted. Which means if that mounting is slotted and you can move the head up and down because the mirror is at an angle, you can hit the mirror a little bit earlier or a little bit later. I'm not going to go in too much detail of that, but if anybody has any questions about that and your machine has that feature, we can discuss it, and I'm more than willing to help with that. I haven't seen many machines with it, but there are. And in actual fact, I don't know why they don't make all the machines with those options, because it'll solve so many headaches. Because if you don't have that, the only other option you have is if you want the beam to go up and down, your last resort, and the only other option is to raise or lower the tube. Again, like we discussed previously, when you lower the tube, don't lower just the front. If you lower just the front and you do get air bubbles in your water system, the bubbles will go to the back and you'll struggle to get them out. And if you don't know about them, they'll just stay there. They won't come out on their own. So if you're going to drop the tube, drop it front and the back equal, so that the front is always ever so slightly higher than the back, so that if for some reason you do get bubbles in the water, they can go out, or you can get them out a little bit easier. The other option that you can get is if you're hitting it slight at the bottom. Oh, sorry, let me say at the bottom, on the near side, closest to you, or the furthest side, the closest to the tube. Again, when that happens, do not adjust these settings. You can only use those settings to fine-tune forward and back, but the main purpose for those settings is to get it parallel. You cannot use those settings to fine-tune that. So if your target shot that you got is closer to you, which means you need to move it towards the tube, the only option you have is to move mirror 2 away from you. If you move mirror 2 away, the laser will hit that mirror a bit earlier, and the path will change and it will go that way. I'm over exaggerating, but that is what you want to do if you want to move the laser that way or this way. You can either loosen the screws there. Again, most machines have slotted or slots where the bolts hold it. You can loosen that, you can bring it slightly back, or if it's only a small amount, if you went through the trouble of adjusting the mirror, start the adjustment with a mirror in the middle, go to the maximum, measure, go halfway back, you can achieve that by either moving them all in a little bit or all out a little bit. It's a much finer adjustment, and you can get a much finer setting, and you can get much closer to the target that you're aiming for. So once that adjustment is done and you are happy that you are pretty much in the holy grail of your target, you got it smack bang in the middle. That after you have checked that, and you can check it again after that setting, that you make a test as close as possible to the head, and you move the bed all the way down. And I really recommend move the bed all the way down as far as you can. The further you go down, the bigger you will see, or the more clear you'll see any deviation that you might have, and you can really fine tune it and get it in. When you move it down, make sure that the piece that you're using to fire on stays in exactly the same place. So once we've done all that, then we are ready to reinstall the lens. And then we have one final check to do. And for that, we will use that. So I just need to get the lens in the machine.
Carlo Tracy is asking, what suggestions do you have for those that don't have adjustable beds?
We have a tool that we are busy designing for that. So you have a manual tool where you can put the target in and you can adjust the tool, and the target will move down, and it will move down 100% straight. As soon as that is ready, we're making it in such a way that you can laser cut it on your machine. You don't need to buy it. You can have the file and you can use it on your machine. You can make it yourself and you can use it. Unfortunately, it's just not ready at the moment, but the minute we have that ready, we will share that with everybody. Okay. So just want to install the lens quickly. While on the topic of the lens, I don't touch the lens with my bare hands. I know a lot of people do. Many others don't. And from what I've read, I don't think you'll die, but it is not recommended. Touch it with your bare hands. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the material that it's manufactured out of, but apparently.
Karen wants to know, when you clean your lens, is it then out of focus?
Sorry, just say again, when you clean the lens?
Does it go out of focus when you just clean the lens?
If you I take my lens out and clean them, put them back exactly as they are. And sometimes it does happen. I do a test cut. The cut is not like it was before. And then you'll find the lens didn't seat the same it was when you put it in the previous time. So I will take the lens out. I will reseat it and tighten it. Don't over tighten the lens. The lens is not a topic of discussion now, but I want to say that you have to have a little rubber O-ring in so that you don't have the lens lying on metal and pushing it down with the metal ring that you turn down. So make sure that you have a little O-ring to keep the lens in place without too much pressure on it. And if you don't have one of those, please contact Gerrit. I know they have stock, and get the right size and get that from him. That'll save you a lot of headaches, because I know a lot of people are extremely scared of removing the lenses and removing the mirrors because they don't want to. You want to clean them, but you don't want to remove them because out of fear of not getting them set back or seated in the same position. But once you're comfortable doing the settings and the setup, that doesn't become a problem. Then you can really look after your machine and maintain your machine and get the most out of your machine. So,
and then she also wants to know about the mirrors.
Yes.
I assume it's if you clean your mirrors, do they go out of focus?
They shouldn't. If you take the mirror out and you don't remove the holder where the mirror is in, you remove the little ring with a thread, you turn that, and you take the mirror out, clean it, put it back. Again, provided the setup of that is correct. Let me just go to that view. And when I say the setup, that these little screws, that they are inserted correctly, that you know they are at least halfway into the body through the holder, and that your locks of your settings, of which mine is not at this moment, if these are locked, then there's no reason for this to go out of focus. So when you remove the mirror and you take that ring out, so if you remove that ring, and I actually made a tool for that, which, let me see if it's close by. The particular one that I made is not close by, but I used a small pliers, which is just a normal long nose pliers, and I sanded down, grinded down on a belt sander, these two, to make it like a circular pliers. A circular pliers would probably work as well. And it is a very nice tool to put in the holes and turn to get that mirror out. And if you turn that to take the mirror out, you clean it, you put it back, make sure that it seats properly. And one way of checking that when you put this ring back is when you turn it in, make sure it's even on all the sides. If it doesn't go even in all the sides, then you know this is not taking the thread properly, so it won't hold the mirror in. And if it doesn't go all the way in, so it's best to check before you take it out. Check how far it went in. And if you can't get it into the same position, that means the mirror is not lying in its ridge. It could be lying on one of the little edges. And then for sure, it's going to go out. It's going to be out.
Thanks, Carlo.
Right. So once we've done that, our machine is ready to test and do a couple of test cuts. So I've heard on the groups, people ask, what is the distance or what is the focal length of this machine and that machine? And there's a couple of options you can do or that you can apply. I made me one of these. I've got a little piece of perspex that came with one of the machines that had no info on it, and you would stick that under the nozzle and you would go and you would trust that it is right. I don't use this for just one machine. And basically all I did was I cut a piece of perspex with a couple of steps in. I start at 16, 17 up to 24. And that is the amount of millimeters that I use.
So basically 1 millimeter steps.
Basically 1 millimeter steps. There's no written rule that says it's got to be 1 millimeter or it's got to be half a millimeter. Whatever perspex you've got at hand, you can make it to your liking, depending on how accurate you want to get it. But 1 mil is good. So I use that. If you use different materials, you adjust the bed or you adjust the head, and you want to get your focus as good as possible. And this is a nice check to put that under the head, move the bed up or down, and you know your focus is in, providing you know what that distance is, which is where this comes in. So,
which is what we've all been waiting for.
And I can guarantee you it's not going to be that impressive. Once you see it work, it's going to make so much sense. Going to make so much sense. So these blanks that you've cut, put them on, and we've got the steps as you would with this. They are all different heights. So it's made in such a way that I put these on. They are all different heights. I can test 8 heights in one go. It might sound like a lot of time or a lot of PT to make it. When you start doing cuts and moving the bed up and down and start looking for it, you'll realize that this is an easier way. So I can show you quickly. That is the file of this unit that we use. So in the top, you got the blanks. The second one is the file that we use to run to do the test. The one at the bottom is the file for the jig. That file we'll make available for whoever would like to download it and give it a shot and keep it and use it as needed. So the run file, I split that up into two files. So the first run, I just score the outline, the black outline in one file. And the only reason I do that is so that I know where to put the device. Once I've done that, I don't move anything. My anchor point stays the same. So mine is set to use the anchor point from the current position of the head, but the position of the files is the same. So that shouldn't be a problem. So the second run, I run the circles and the squares in each of the little blockies, and that gives me a good indication of where my focal point is and which is going to cut the best, which I will show you right now. And I am as excited and anxious as everybody else, as I've done this a million times, but it's the first time I'm doing it live on a camera. So I'm not going to be worried too much about the height when I do the outline. It's just an indication of where I'm going to put the device. Right, so that was just an outline, and I'm not going to move that. And if I put that there, pretty much ready to go on that. So it is a bit high on the high spot. So I'm going to move it down a bit. But it's getting better. And I can run the next file. And I'll just do an outline to see I'm good. And this will either be where the magic happens, or it'll be an indication that you did not do the settings correctly. If you did the settings correctly, it's very satisfying. If you did not, you want to kick the machine. Let's have a look. So it cuts out the circles first, and then the square, so that if the first cut is successful, it will fall through. So by the looks of that, the first one will not be my ideal setting. And from where I'm standing, I can see the line is getting slightly thinner. So at this
I
stage,
think we
I
are
am.
all sitting on the edge of our seats waiting for that little circle to drop out now.
I'm very anxious to see if it will. So let's see what happens. We're getting more and more smoke coming out of it. So the laser is going through a bit more effectively. There we go. And at this stage, that one seems the most successful.
Mm-hmm.
And that one is staying in. So on that one, the all right. So that took a couple of seconds. In actual fact, we're less than 2 minutes. And within less than 2 minutes, I know exactly what the focal height is, the ideal for this. I can move my head there, and when I use this little device, turn it around, maybe come there, that way. I can see that the last one, which is 16 on this configuration, is the perfect setting for this. I set the machine on that. I can run. I know that is the best height that it'll cut. I won't have any problems with it.
And this is
And
actually a much better method than the ramp test that everybody on YouTube does. It's so much easier to see, where on the ramp test you just have a line and you have to decide where the line looks best. Yeah, you can easily see which cut is perfect.
yes, yeah, you actually see the cut doing what it's supposed to be doing. You want it to cut
Exactly.
and the item to fall through. If my gripe with a ramp test, if you have the ramp test there and you see that it's cutting there from the top, it looks all right. But now you lift it up to check the bottom. Now you see the bottom. Okay, it's cutting there. All right, where was it now again? Was it there? You need to move the head and judge it. I suppose it must work because so many people are doing it. And to be honest, I've never done that. I've never done that. This, to me, I actually looked for something like this. That one actually also, just as I touched it, fell through. These ones, you'll see that that one
Did
made
not cut all the way through.
made an indent, but as we go further on, you'll see it didn't go through. And if you do this and you see that the lines become thinner and thinner and thinner, but it still doesn't cut through on that one, it doesn't mean that your setting is out. It just means that you might not have enough space there. So you could go back, and that's why I said cut at least 2 or 3 of these sets, take them out, just maybe move the bed down a little bit more and do the same test, because that way you can do 16 tests in a matter of 4 minutes, where if you do 16 tests up and down, it takes forever.
Huge time saver.
That's a huge time saver. And if I do say so myself, this is so much cooler.
Very cool, Carlo. It's very cool.
So much more impressive. All right, that's pretty much. Let me get back. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, the adjustment of that last mirror. I hope everybody learned at least something, just some, and that you can apply it in your machine. And if anybody has anything that they would like to share with us how they do it, which we don't apply, I'd love to hear. I'm sure there's 100 ways of doing this and getting to it. So yeah, please share your ways of doing it. And yes, I'd love to see that, how anybody else does it, because I'm sure there are many ways of doing it.
Thanks, Carlo. I'm sure we all learned a lot tonight. Very, very interesting session. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, thanks a lot for everybody joining in.
Any questions?
I just want to know, the perfect laser machine doesn't have that loose on the lens, that's loose, that you can drop down on your target. How do you work with those ones?
Yes. I have a perfect laser machine. I will try and do a little video for you, and then I'll post it on the WhatsApp group. I just yeah, I remove that entire bottom part of the head and then try and get the circle as close to the middle as I possibly can. But it's kind of difficult to explain while I'm not in front of my laser. So I'll make a short video and I'll put that on the WhatsApp group so you'll be able to see what I'm talking about.
Or an alternative, what you can do is, if somebody can help you, you can have a little tube, depending on the OD. When I say OD, I mean the outside diameter or the inside diameter. If you can get a little tube that fits maybe directly over it or directly into it, it just must not have any play. I'm sure you can get something like that. You can use that as well. If you can't get that, I'm sure somebody at a local engineering shop can make something like that, and they will not charge you an arm and a leg, and it'll be very useful. It's really nice if you get your machine set up and you see the things cut. And Liana, I think it was you posted on the group a while ago, and you had a whole lot of things cut out, and as you lifted it up, everybody applauded. Was that you who posted that?
I think it was Akio.
And it really is as satisfying when you set up your machine and you can do that. You can cut out, and you can cut out a lot of pieces, and you lift the piece of wood up, and all those pieces just stay at the bottom. And the only way you get that is if your alignment is 100% perfect
alignment. Yeah.
And
there's also nothing as gut-wrenching as lifting up that piece of wood and all your pieces are still inside.
Oh my. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing, and I just realized that, Liana, before we go, I need to say this. The one thing that we didn't cover, and I apologize for that, I neglected it. When we get to this lens, what is important is you need to check that your bed is level. And by checking that once we've done the check that you've got the distance from the nozzle to the work material. Once you get that, move the work material to all four corners of the bed and make sure that that height is the same in all four corners. If it's not, if you have a machine with a bed that can move, if you turn the machine off, then you can move those, you can pull on the belts and move the stepper motor. It won't remember the spot when you adjust it. You can manually adjust them, but most machines, if I'm not mistaken, the two on the left are usually linked on one, and the two on the right is linked to another motor. The smaller machines might have one motor, and it takes a little bit more work to loosen the locks and doing that. I would suggest getting somebody with a bit of technical knowledge to help you with that, if that is the case. But that is definitely something you need to do and need to check. Make sure your bed is 100% aligned and that you got the same height all four corners.
Definitely, that is very important. I struggled long ago with a bed that was not level, and it just causes so many problems, like cutting out perfectly on the left hand side, and when it gets to the right hand side, it's not in focus anymore, and your cuts are just messed up.
Sometimes it takes you a while to realize that is the problem. And some people end up just avoiding certain corners in their machine, and they avoid certain places.
Yeah.
So
in the chat here, Tracy told us that she has a different method of tackling the alignment. She says it involves a lot of beer for her husband and a lot of wine for her and a very long weekend.
I suppose that's one method of going about it.
There's one of the people avoiding the right-hand corner because the right-hand corner does not cut perfectly. Yeah, so maybe go and check the bed level there.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
for a short solution is just check the bed level, and if the bed is level, go and watch part one of the videos, and once you're done with that, apply what we did here or watch the video again. And if you do it correctly, you're gonna love your machine and you're gonna have full use of it. I've been doing this for so many years, and it's still fulfilling and nice to see that just lifting it up and everything comes out.
Yes, yes.
I think
No,
it's the way.
Paula, I
definitely.
just want to
Yeah.
find out something. My back mirror that's directly in front of my laser
Yes.
tube, that one, if I put it in center and I center every other mirror, it just shoot that beam out of my machine. And then I asked one of the technical guys of Perfect Laser, and they said it's not necessary that that mirror, the laser must be in the center of that mirror. Is it true or not?
Well, if you get it in the center, because remember the mirror is about, what is the average mirror? I think it's about 20
Two.
millimeters.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're about 2 centimeters. Now, if they stand at a 45-degree angle, you've only got about 10 millimeters of mirror that you see. So you want to hit that in the center. It's not necessary that you hit it in the center, but you just got so much of a better chance of not the side of your laser maybe hitting a part of the
Mm.
of the holder. And then the reason why I say the setting, I put that in the middle, where I go maximum to the one side, maximum to the other side. If you remember back, I'm not sure if you were in the first session, if you watched that one. The first shot.
Unfortunately, not. I had visitors,
Okay.
but I will
Yeah,
catch
because
up on that one.
You
yes,
can catch up on that one.
there's quite an important part on that, on how to do that and put a piece of material for safety's sake. That is very important. So I would suggest watching that as soon as it's available. I
Yeah.
know we were a bit behind, but Billy will upload it up probably today or over the weekend, I'm sure.
And then the other thing is the middle of the hole is not necessarily the middle of the mirror. It depends on how your mirror is sitting. So that might also be the issue. You think that it's dead center, but it might be a little bit off.
Somebody told me once, and I will never forget it. Let me just see if I can find it. Oh, my views changed. I just want to find the right one. Maybe I can just do this. So, and now I'm gonna upset everything. So just bear with me for a second.
We have another question, but we'll get to that one now.
Yes. So this is the little opening that we discussed, and saying that normally when I do my firing into that one, I put a piece of MDF over it and I put the masking tape. But if you want to see if you're hitting that in the middle, you put 2 or 3 pieces of masking tape and I rub it with my finger to make an outline and hit it in the middle. But what I said was the fact that this hole, the center of that hole, does not always indicate the center of that mirror for it to go down. And somebody explained to me once, you could get one of these, which was manufactured on a Monday morning, where the guy who drilled the hole was nice and fresh. He had a nice weekend. Or you could get one of these where the guy who drilled this hole went home on a Friday afternoon, and this was the last one he had to do before he ran off for the weekend. So yeah. Yes, can we get to the next one, Liana?
It's off topic, but please share which
Sure.
extractor you are using, please.
Let's see if I can do that. Oh. There, it's in the shot. There we go. That is a TD 800 silent, and there's the focus coming now. And that is my fan, and that goes up, out through the wall. And because I work from home, I can't really use anything else. That is nice and quiet, so it doesn't really bother anybody. I can run with it and use it 12 o'clock at night. It's not an issue. So yes,
Hey, thank
thank
you
you,
for
everybody.
joining us, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Liana. I think we can
And
call it a
we
night.
can call it a night. Yeah.
Yes. Happy laser alignment for those who have the guts to go and do that over the weekend.
Definitely.
Otherwise, enjoy the rugby.